Today, we're going to break down why so many men are suffering from low testosterone, how you can fix it without wasting money on testosterone boosters or without having to fully commit to TRT. So before we jump into it today, we're going to go over a few quick stats I wanted to share with you guys. The first one, studies have shown that testosterone levels in men have actually declined by 1% every single year since the 1980s. About 1 in every 4 men over the age of 30 have low testosterone, and the biggest contributors to low testosterone are obesity, poor diet, and lifestyle choices. So with that being said, preview for today's episode, we're going over the 5 biggest killers of testosterone. We're going over testosterone boosting supplements. What are they? Are they worth taking? Is there any evidence behind them? And then to finish it off, we're going to lay out an actionable blueprint to help you increase your testosterone levels without having to jump on TRT. So, starting off with section numero uno, the 5 biggest killers for testosterone. The first one is overdoing cardio or even training in general, and then specifically not strength training. So we see a lot of guys, when they want to get into fitness, lose weight, they immediately jump into cardio and they're doing 7 days a week, or they're lifting 7 days a week. So we'll talk about this in kind of 2 aspects. The first one's overtraining in general. Overtraining is a major stress on your body. We're going to talk a lot about cortisol here throughout this episode, as it has a direct kind of correlation with testosterone. But overtraining is a stress on your body, and your body needs time to recover from exercise. So if we're constantly in this state of overtraining, we're not giving our body time to rest. We're not giving our body time to recover. These cortisol is going to be chronically elevated and take over, therefore suppressing testosterone. It's also why doing any sort of excessive endurance training, long distance running in particular, increases cortisol, which, like we just said, has a direct effect on testosterone. You see a lot of runners don't particularly have a lot of muscle mass, and they almost have a skinny fat look or physique to them. That's because, one, the body is trying to adapt to the activity they're doing to become as efficient as possible. So what does that look like? Doesn't need a bunch of extra muscle mass, wants to get rid of any unnecessary weight. Then the body wants to have some sort of long-term stored energy. That's why you see a lot of runners kind of have that fat around the midsection, that kind of spare tire region. That's because the body is trying to adapt and become as efficient as possible. Now, on the other side, when we're strength training and doing heavy compound lifts, your body is actually going to stimulate testosterone production so that it can produce more muscle mass and adapt to that stimulus that you are putting on your body. And I've known a lot of guys, a few clients in particular, where they were big runners, they were big endurance guys. That was kind of all they ever did or all they ever knew, aside getting out of college and high school and in the 30s, 40s, and even 50s, and had low energy, never really looked great, kind of looked pretty soft. But once we switched to just focusing on strength training with exercise in terms of building muscle, stimulating muscle growth, increasing strength, and not necessarily doing a ton of cardio throughout the week, but just walking more to stay active, keep that NEAT up, and burn some calories in order to improve body composition. Energy skyrocketed, strength skyrocketed. They look the best they ever have. And that was all while spending less time in total training throughout the week. Because when we're doing things like training for marathons, running, that takes hours and hours and hours every single week in order to keep progressing. Because the only way to really progress with running is run longer and farther. So if we're going to keep progressing, we're going to have to keep running longer, keep running farther. And that is a lot of stress on our body versus with strength training, we can progress by simply increasing the weight on the bar or increasing the dumbbells. And we can still get effective workouts in 45, 30 minutes a couple times a week. So a lot less overall stress on our body, and it's stimulating that muscle growth specifically. So number one is overdoing cardio and not incorporating strength training. The number two biggest killer of testosterone is not prioritizing your sleep and getting poor sleep. Testosterone's produced while we sleep along with growth hormones. So that being said, if we're not getting good sleep, we're going to have low testosterone, and testosterone is going to take a hit because of that. And studies have shown that men that get less than 5 hours of sleep per night actually have about 10 to 15% lower testosterone than those who are getting more than 5 hours of sleep a night. And that is just the time of sleep. That doesn't even take into account the overall quality, which that is definitely going to impact quality of sleep, but just the time itself. If you're getting less than 5 hours, you're already at a 10 to 15% disadvantage and you're going to have that much lower testosterone versus someone who's getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. And your body releases more cortisol when you are sleep deprived. Once again, further suppressing testosterone. You're going to hear this as a common theme throughout all of these. Not getting enough sleep is once again another stress on your body. You're going to notice that almost all of these are different types of stressors and stress that we can put on our body, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, and all of these are going to have an effect on cortisol, which then has effect on testosterone, because cortisol and testosterone have an inverse relationship, meaning that when cortisol levels are high, testosterone tends to be lower. And cortisol is a catabolic hormone, meaning that it breaks down tissue. So catabolic means breaks down. Anabolic means it builds tissue. So testosterone is an anabolic hormone, while cortisol is a catabolic hormone. And understanding this relationship is crucial for both optimizing your muscle growth and performance, as well as your recovery. And while cortisol isn't bad by itself, we need it. It's a necessary hormone. It plays a crucial role in our workouts and in that muscle building process, but it can't be something that is chronically elevated 24/7, 365. We need to peak it at the right times, like during your workout. Cortisol is going to spike during your workout. It's going to spike in the morning when you wake up, but we don't want it constantly elevated. We want it peaked at those right times and then to go back down. And then our other hormones, testosterone, growth hormone, to peak at the right time in order to fuel muscle growth, performance, and recovery. So if you haven't listened to one of the previous podcasts where we go over sleep and give you a complete blueprint on how to really maximize your quality and quantity of sleep, go back and listen to that one, because that's really going to set everything up to be as optimal as possible in terms of everything health. Just your overall health and biomarkers, building muscle, losing body fat, improving performance. If your sleep isn't optimized and isn't sufficient, which for most people it's not, you are leaving a lot on the table. Especially if you're just going and looking for supplements, but you're not taking care of your sleep and doing those few habits in the 10, 4, 3, 2, 1 process that we talked about in the sleep episode. You're stepping over $100 bills to pick up pennies. So make sure your sleep is optimized. Number 3 is going to be alcohol. I know none of you wanted to hear this. Everybody wants to still be able to go out, have their beers with the boys, have a few drinks while they're golfing, and still make progress. And you can definitely do that, but it needs to be limited and managed. If you're drinking every single day with dinner, multiple drinks, 100% it's going to have an effect on your testosterone. Now, if you're somebody that maybe once every 2 weeks you go golfing, have a couple drinks, or you have a party and you're having 1 or 2 drinks for some certain celebration once a month or once every couple months, that's not going to have a huge noticeable impact at all. Still do that, still enjoy life for sure. Not saying that you need to cut it out completely, but if you're somebody that is at the point where you're really suffering from the effects of low testosterone, or you really want to maximize everything that your body can do and get the most out of your body to look your best, perform your best, then alcohol is definitely going to have an effect on your overall health and testosterone. So, studies have actually shown that even moderate alcohol, which they call moderate 2 to 3 drinks per day, I would say that's excessive, 2 to 3 drinks every single day. But they show that 2 to 3 drinks per day can lower your testosterone by up to 20 to 30%. And alcohol also is going to drastically decrease your quality of sleep. Now, me personally, I noticed that I have a Garmin watch, it gives me a sleep score every single night. And usually, if I'm following our sleep protocol, I'm in the upper 80s or 90s as far as my sleep score goes. If I even have two alcoholic beverages, whether that's beer or tequila soda or something, the highest sleep score I'm going to get after that is probably in the upper 40s. So, massive hit on your sleep quality. Alcohol and even substances like weed, they make you fall asleep easier. So you feel like, oh, it helps me sleep. It helps you fall asleep, but it keeps you from getting into those deeper stages of sleep where the actual good benefits come from, that being deep in REM sleep. So you're missing out on essential hormone production, growth hormone, testosterone. You're going to have higher cortisol the next day, the stress hormone. We've talked a lot about that. You're going to be more likely to make poor decisions with food the next day. Ghrelin's going to be increased, which is your hunger hormone. There's a whole lot of negativity that comes out of getting poor sleep. And alcohol is one thing that is for sure going to ruin your overall quality of sleep. And now, with poor sleep, that is going to kick off a whole snowball effect of other kind of, I'm going to call them health problems or detriments to your health in progress. So we have to keep that in mind too with a lot of this. But alcohol specifically, we'll get back to that now. Alcohol specifically increases the activity in aromatase, which is an enzyme that will actually convert testosterone into estrogen. So a lot of people just think alcohol is only about the added calories from alcohol. So if we just drink low calorie beverages, we're fine. But there is no health benefits that come from alcohol. Technically, alcohol is a poison. There's nothing good that comes from it. And now that's not to say, like I said before, we can't ever have it. Definitely fun to have sometimes with the boys, make some good memories with alcohol being involved, but it's not going to help you out at all with your health. And I'm sure you've seen guys that have that sort of beer gut or the soft, puffy physique. That is an example of low testosterone and higher estrogen at work. Because one thing these sex hormones do is they have an impact. They don't necessarily have an impact on whether or not you're going to gain body fat, but what they do is higher estrogen or lower testosterone or vice versa can play a role in where that body fat you put on, if you're eating in a surplus, is stored. So you often see higher estrogen can be stored more in the chest and the glutes and the thighs. It's where women tend to store body fat versus higher testosterone. You're going to be a lot leaner. You're going to store less of that body fat. You're not going to have the man tits or the beer gut either. Another key here, as far as muscle building goes, is muscle protein synthesis, which is basically the fancy word for saying your body using protein to build muscle, is reduced by up to 37% after drinking alcohol. And that was found in the American Journal of Physiology. That was where that study was done. So you can go look that up if you want, along with the one on testosterone being lowered by 20 to 30% with moderate alcohol intake. That was the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. So these are studies that you guys can go look up yourselves and read into. But like I talked about, alcohol is going to 100% impact your sleep and delay your recovery, decrease your growth hormone and your testosterone. And then right there, we talked about protein synthesis being inhibited. And if you're drinking what I would call excessively, not moderately, then that is going to have about a 20 to 30% hit on your testosterone. So number 3 killer is alcohol. Moving on to number 4, that is going to be poor nutrition. So it's time that you need to start eating like a man and not like a little boy. Cereal for breakfast, having little snack packs, eating goldfish all day, getting these grab and go things at gas stations. That's what you give your 7-year-old son. That's not what you should be eating. Too many guys are out there eating empty calories, all this processed stuff, sugary foods, trans fats, sugary coffees, foods that are very calorie dense and not nutrient dense. So by calorie dense, we mean if you look at the volume of food, you could have a little snack pack, single serving of crackers, and it be 350 calories. Or you could eat 200 grams of potatoes, 6 ounces of chicken, and some roasted bell peppers and tomatoes. One of those is not going to fill you up at all and doesn't have very much nutritional value aside from the calories, being that the calories are going to give you your body energy, while the other one has all these micronutrients, has protein, has carbohydrates, has fiber, which is going to help with gut health. It's going to contain things like magnesium, vitamin D, all the amino acids that we need from complete protein sources. So it's going to cover micronutrient deficiencies, which being deficient in certain micronutrients can 100% take a hit on your testosterone. Things such as zinc, magnesium, vitamin D, which all 3 of those are things that I suggest every guy include in their daily supplement stack. That was the previous episode. So if you want, you can go back, listen to that, break down the six supplements every guy should be taking every single day. Part of that is because being deficient in those will take a hit on your testosterone. Also, having high sugar foods, and I'm talking added sugars. Sugar itself is not bad. Carbs are not bad. In fact, they would benefit you when it comes to building muscle mass, improving your testosterone, getting stronger. But a bunch of added sugar where there's no additional nutrients with it, because fruit itself is sugar. Fructose is sugar, but it comes with other micronutrients along with oftentimes fiber, which is going to kind of slow that digestion down versus having a bunch of syrup in your coffee that is literally just straight high fructose corn syrup or sugar. That is going to spike your insulin, which when you're in a calorie surplus or you're struggling to stay in the deficit, it's going to make you hungrier, and then therefore in putting on body fat, which once you put on excess body fat, it is going to convert more of that testosterone into estrogen. And it's not always about, with nutrition, trying to find the fanciest meals, changing it up all the time. Like, have a few key foods that you eat. Eat a lot of fruit, eat a lot of veggies, have a few good protein sources that you like, leaner cuts of steak, top sirloin, beef tenderloin, chicken, tilapia. Greek yogurt in the mornings is a great one for breakfast. You can add frozen fruit, cinnamon to that. Carb-wise, potatoes, rice, English muffins in the morning, healthy fats, almonds, avocados, peanut butter. Although I do recommend most of you guys kind of try to avoid nut butters, not because they're bad, but because you're very likely to overeat them. And that's an easy thing where you can just cut that out of your diet and instantly create a good 200 to 300 calorie deficit right there just by eliminating things like putting excess butter on your foods or a bunch of peanut butter on your toast in the morning. But it's not nutrition isn't rocket science. Eat mostly whole foods, eat well-balanced meals that have protein, carbs, and some fruit and veggies in there. You're probably not going to have a problem getting enough fat in. Most people overeat fat way more than they do carbohydrates, which is funny because everybody demonizes carbohydrates when it comes to fat, or when it comes to losing body fat. But really, the fat intake is where I would say 70% of people being way in excess and allowing them to not be in a calorie deficit and overeat and put on more body fat. So there it is. Number 2 is poor nutrition. It's time for you to stop eating like a little boy and actually eat like a man. Eat a steak. Number 5, high body fat percentage. So when our bodies, we mentioned this in the last one with eating like a man, but the more body fat you have, the more estrogen you are going to have, because fat cells contain aromatase, and that is the enzyme we previously mentioned that converts testosterone into estrogen. So obese men have actually been shown to have about 30% lower testosterone than men that are leaner and have lower percentages of body fat. Now, if we look back at all of these so far, we have poor sleep giving you about 10 to 15% lower testosterone. We have moderate drinking of alcohol, 20 to 30%. We'll just take the middle of all these ranges. So 12% down for poor sleep, 25% down for moderately drinking alcohol. So right there, we're at 37% decrease. And then if you are on the obese side, there's another 30. So we're looking at 67% lower testosterone if you are obese, continuously drinking alcohol, and not sleeping well. Just with those 3 things, you can get a 67% increase in your testosterone if you fix those 3 things, which all of those can be done just with your lifestyle and habits. You don't need to find any expensive TRT replacement that you're going to have to commit to for life. No expensive testosterone booster is going to do that. Those are all simple things that cost you zero money that you can do starting tomorrow. Now, back to number 5, which is high body fat percentage, which is testosterone's worst enemy. If you have love handles, you have a big, soft belly, your belly hangs over your pants in the front, then 100% you can benefit from losing some body fat, and your testosterone will significantly increase just because of that. A lot of guys too, you don't realize exactly what you're missing and what you're suffering from when you have low energy, low motivation, strength in the gym isn't really progressing, confidence isn't there. Like, these are all things that benefit from you taking control of your life, losing body fat. Like, I know I talk a lot about fat loss, and that's where our coaching mainly focuses, but it's not just about improving how you look. Everybody thinks it's just about, the guy with the ego's got to have abs and look good. No, that is not at all. That is just one little added benefit. It's about having more energy so you can play with your kids, perform in your business. It's about having the confidence to, if you're a single guy, go talk to females, go approach new people for business deals, walk in rooms and be a leader that people look up to. It's being a leader in your family, having the motivation to go out and try new things, having the strength to pick up your kids, having the strength to be a functional human that can protect their family and be functional and perform and not be out of breath when you're walking up the stairs. There's so much that comes from losing body fat and therefore increasing your testosterone. So you have so much more vitality and you get so much more out of life, and life is just so much more enjoyable. So those were the 5 biggest killers of testosterone. We'll do a little recap. Overdoing cardio, not strength training at all, poor sleep, alcohol, poor nutrition, and having a high body fat percentage. So now you're like, all right, I want to get my testosterone up. Most of you guys right away just go into the supplement shop and grab whatever testosterone boosting thing they have in there, because instead of eating like a man, not like a little boy, tracking your food, strength training 3 times a week, prioritizing your sleep, not scrolling on your phone or watching TV in bed all night. Instead of doing those little things, you'd rather just take a pill. So let's talk about these testosterone boosters and if there's something that is actually going to help you out. Now, a lot of these testosterone boosters themselves, they don't actually boost your testosterone directly. What they do is a lot of them act on things that indirectly will improve testosterone. So you'll see a lot of these have things such as ashwagandha in them, which is becoming more popular. I'm sure you guys have heard of it these days. Ashwagandha is, the main purpose of that is to lower cortisol. So if you're chronically stressed, you should benefit from taking ashwagandha. Now, we talked a lot about cortisol and how that has a negative impact on testosterone with that inverse relationship. So ashwagandha has been something that has been shown to have a little bit of impact. But like we said, that is lowering the cortisol and helping out with the stress area of things. It's not directly improving your testosterone. So it's just helping limit a few of those killers of testosterone. A few more that are a little more popular. Tongkat Ali, that's one you've probably heard about, along with Fedosia agrestis. Those have both been mentioned on Huberman's podcast. And now there is some evidence, but there isn't any data that it really shows for sure there is any positive effect. And Fedosia agrestis had some rodent studies that did show a little bit of increase in testosterone, but there have been no human studies done, and there isn't a recommended dosage for it either, because in some of the rodent studies, they did potentially find it cytotoxic, and the safety of it is kind of unclear. So I believe that's why they haven't progressed in any sort of human trials with it yet. But it's been proclaimed benefits are increase in testosterone and pro-erectile. But that's for Fedosia agrestis. But once again, rodent studies showed small increases in testosterone, but it was potentially cytotoxic, and the safety of it is unclear for that one. Tongkat Ali is supposedly supposed to increase testosterone, although the effects are more based in lore and tradition in the Southeast Asia region rather than any sort of hard evidence. The last one, Shilajit, it is an antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties, and it is supposed to be testosterone increasing, although there's been very, very little human research done on it. But some of that research has shown that it increased testosterone in infertile men. So only in men that were already infertile, it showed a small increase in testosterone there. But there's no evidence that it increases the testosterone of guys that are in relatively good shape or are already fertile. And when you think of it too, a lot of these, if they did work, and there is an over-the-counter pill that we could take that would increase testosterone, doctors would right away start prescribing that or recommending that versus TRT, where you have to inject it. It's a lot longer process, and you have to commit to it at that point. Because once you start exogenously taking testosterone, your body is going to shut down production of testosterone because it's getting it exogenously. And that is the reason that you have to continue to take it for years after years after years once you start. But I'm no doctor, so if that is something you want to learn more about, talk to your doctor about it, do your own research. I'm here to tell you that these other lifestyle factors and things that you can control starting tomorrow with zero negative side effects, zero hurt on your bank account, are going to have a lot greater effect on your testosterone than any sort of over-the-counter supplement that you can buy, and don't require any sort of commitment to taking TRT either. So, with that being said, we are now moving on to the blueprint in order to boost your testosterone naturally. So, we got 6 areas here. We had 5 killers of testosterone. Now we got 6 areas that you can do to improve your testosterone. And as you can guess, a lot of these are going to be the opposites of the killers of testosterone. So, number 1, prioritize strength training. Focus on hitting compound lifts, heavy compound lifts. We're not trying to make our strength training like cardio, doing 20, 30 reps with 5-pound dumbbells like some of these group workout classes do, where everybody has the same 5-pound weight and they're never going to progress aside from maybe those first couple weeks they're in there. And they're just trying to get a good sweat on and burn some calories. That isn't the goal. We want heavy compound lifts, progressive overload. I'd say focus on that kind of 5 to 8 rep range when starting off. Things like shoulders and arms, you can go up to like 12 to 15, 10 to 15. But for most of these heavy compound lifts, 5 to 8 rep range. And then train 3 to 5 times per week with progressive overload. For someone that's new to the gym, you can easily get by making good progress with 3 training sessions per week. Start off with full body. We'll do another podcast on how to structure a whole training program here in the coming weeks. But 3 to 5, if you're someone that's been lifting for years, you can get away with the 5 times per week. Nobody should be lifting 7 times per week unless you're taking some sort of anabolic steroid. You cannot recover from that. You're stressing your body out way too much, and you're going to see a lot better results lifting 5 times a week than you will 7. Trust me, I've been there. I was the guy that spent 2 hours in the gym every single day in college, lifted 7 days a week, did every exercise that I could think of. And once I scaled that back to 5 days a week, actually followed a structured training program, made sure that I was progressively overloading, lifting more weight or more reps each session, my results were way better and I was spending less time in the gym. Number 2, it's going to be aim for 7 to 9 hours of high quality sleep per night. Like I said, go watch that podcast, but a few things are right here. Cut the screen time before bed. Sleep in a cold, pitch black room. You don't want any lights shining. Get blackout shades. Block off any sort of LED lights or screens. It should be pitch black. You shouldn't be able to see your hand when you hold your hand out in front of your face. It should be that dark. And then you can supplement with magnesium glycinate. That will help improve your sleep as well. Number 3 is going to be eat like a man, not a child. Choose high protein foods and whole foods. So beef, eggs, fruit, fish, vegetables, potatoes, rice. You eat those foods, you're going to feel great and you're going to look great too. Make sure you're getting enough fats, avocados, eggs, red meat, things like that, because testosterone is made from cholesterol. Cholesterol is a precursor to almost all of our hormones. But for most guys, like I said, that's not a problem. I would say make sure you're getting at least half of your body weight in kilograms in fat, roughly. So for me, about 90 kilograms or so. I believe that's 200 pounds. So about 45 grams of fat is kind of like minimum you want to be around. But I almost guarantee you're eating plenty of fat. So don't focus on that too much. As far as making sure we're not deficient in anything, daily vitamins, vitamin D3 plus K2, zinc, magnesium glycinate before you go to bed. hit those main ones along with like fish oil, creatine, and you should be covered there. Number 4, get that body fat off and keep it off. Don't do any sort of extreme crash diet, because being in an extreme deficit for too long is another thing that is going to tank your sex hormones and your testosterone. So learn the actual skill of flexible dieting. Get that body fat percentage down. Get out of a deficit for a little bit. Improve your strength again. Focus on building muscle. Eat at your maintenance calories or even slightly above for a little if you have a ton of weight to get off. But get that body fat percentage down below 18, below 15 or so, and then maintain it there. You don't want to be a chronic dieter. Do it right. Do it in phases. Do it in seasons. If you need help with that, you can look in the show notes. Click that link, chat with me, and I will for sure help you get that body fat percentage down and make sure that it stays off. Number 5, reduce alcohol intake. I would keep it to maximum 1 to 2 drinks per week, but really, if you want optimal results, cut it out during the period that you're trying to get that fat off. If you are going to drink, try to drink with like clear spirits, so vodka and tequila in moderation, 0-calorie mixers, things like that. But like I said, if you really want to maximize your results and you're one of those guys that says, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, cut out alcohol. That'd be my first recommendation. It's going to cut out a lot of calories, help you get in a deficit. You're going to get a lot better sleep. You're going to make a lot better choices. And overall, you're going to feel a lot better, especially if you haven't ever gone a full month without drinking any alcohol since maybe college or before you were 21. Give it a try. It is mind-boggling. So many people, it's like they're just in the habit of every time they go out to dinner, getting a drink or having a beer, gin and tonic or whatever it is with dinner. If you haven't gone a full month without drinking alcohol in years or decades, give it a try. You're going to be mind blown at how good you feel, how well rested you are when you wake up, how your strength and performance is improving in the gym. Your body fat's starting to come off a lot easier. If you haven't done that, give it a try. I bet there's a pretty large percentage that you will not return to your previous drinking habits. For me now, at this point in my life, I'd say I drink on special occasions and maybe like once a quarter now. Like that's about it. I just crave waking up feeling good, feeling fresh, not wasting half of a day because I'm hungover or missing out on any sort of gains because I'm putting in a lot of effort as far as my training sessions, my nutrition. I don't want to sacrifice it with a couple drinks when I can still be in the moment, have a good time with a diet soda or a Zevia or sparkling water. So that is me. Number 6, optimize recovery and lower your stress. So talked a lot about cortisol. Chronic stress equals high cortisol, which equals low testosterone. So go on daily walks. Try not to be stimulated all the time. Cold exposure, if you're good. Someone that has a lot of high anxiety, take cold baths, take cold showers. Journaling, writing things down, using a Google Calendar so that you're not constantly stressed about what you have to do and everything is laid out for you and you're organized. Decluttering your house, your room, your office. That'll help get rid of some of the stress. And then 2, it's like when we say recover and relax, nowadays relaxing for most people is scrolling on TikTok, but you're still being so stimulated by social media and the videos you see there on there or news headlines or things like that. They're made to be stimulating, and that is not allowing your body to really get into a relaxed state. So take some time. Do not be on technology, watching Netflix or social media where you're being stimulated, and actually just relax. Everyone's looking for these recovery hacks, and Dr. Mike Israetel did a whole video on this. He's one of the people that for sure I'd recommend you go look into it and listen to. But he talked about the whole recovery thing and all these different methods that people are looking for, and boots and cryotherapy and all this stuff, when the best thing you can do is nothing. Nothing, like 100% nothing. Not scrolling on TikTok on the couch, nothing. Just be in a complete relaxed state. Testosterone's built in recovery, not just in the gym. So make sure you're managing your stress mentally, physically, and emotionally, optimizing and prioritizing recovery. And that is going to do wonders for your testosterone. Low testosterone isn't just about aging. It's about our lifestyle and how we live. So if you're somebody that does feel weak, tired, unmotivated, your hormones are likely suffering. But the good news is you can take control of it, fix your sleep, train hard, eat like a man, get rid of that excess body fat, cut the habits that are holding you back. If you do this, you'll not only feel stronger, but you will actually reclaim your edge in every area of life. So that is all for today. Share this episode with a friend that needs to hear it. Shoot me a DM on Instagram if you have any questions or you want to connect there. I'd love to connect with you guys, build out this community of like-minded men that we can all help each other become better and live lean and lethal lives. Stay lean, stay lethal, and keep chasing discomfort.